So I started just doing a search on camera and I ended up going down a rabbit hole and the video got a little bit disoriented. But what I wanted to just show you now is just how you can look at this. One of the criteria that I mentioned in the essay is like don't use something that's too political or like a troll. There's a lot of trolls that are just like really, like they take these opinions to the extreme, and it's like very clearly a political argument rather than sort of an argument based off of technique and legal apparatus and all those kind of things, which are much more important for this paper. Once again, we're going to try to remove this political argument while we're talking about politics. So we have this Colorado immigration law. We can just add that. That would be an extra one. Using this to compare to the articles that we're reading, and we can see here there's the governor or the government itself, run by the governor, releases some information. We're going to probably want to avoid those. We got this lawyer, it looks like. I'm just, we're sort of using interpretation and stuff, right? We got to use our digital knowledge and our digital literacy to sort of hash through some of this stuff. So this guy looks like maybe like a good candidate for someone I might like to share, just based off of his profile. He doesn't look like a troll. Looks like he could be a lawyer. It's his actual name. It's not like a fake name or anything like that. And then let's see what he says. Denver, Colorado based attorney focusing on immigration law, nationality, human rights law. Okay, so this looks really interesting because he's going to be working in those type of situations that are talked about in court of injustice. So let's just do a really quick scan here. Looks like he's posting mostly every day, but I don't really see anything that he's talking about this sanctuary city law. Let's see if we can let's see. Oh, I don't see any sanctuary city law. So this guy's not going to be good. So pretty much the law, the Colorado immigration law, is the sanctuary city law. Here we have Governor of Colorado has signed multiple bills in the law that have turned Colorado into a sanctuary state. All right, this seems like it's a rather normal argument. Now our law enforcement has been handcuffed and cooperating with immigration officials. All right, so let's see. Oh, he's a rep. Oh, he's probably a Republican. This is definitely a red flag, a little too politicized, just like we wouldn't want to quote the governor. Colorado is passing a law that allows illegal aliens to request that guilty pleas be overturned in the plea had immigration consequences they didn't know about. Come to Colorado, commit a crime, plead guilty, and have the crime wiped away. Criminal sanctuary state. This Court Gardner, okay, I'd say, you can probably sort of see that he has anti immigrant opinion. If we wanted to just use plain language, he has this criminal illegal aliens, that idea of court of injustice, sort of mixing those. Okay, so this is, we might be able to interpret this. He sort of seems like a troll, but I'd say it's a troll, like he has an opinion. One thing that I think might be concerning about this is that he doesn't really give much details. It's just sort of like throwing it out there. So I'm not going to personally like this one. I don't like this one. U.S. Justice Department sues the state of Colorado and the city of Denver over immigration laws. Governor Polis, Mayor Johnston, and Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser are among those named. This is pretty interesting. It's not necessarily an opinion, though. If I'm writing an essay about this, this is more so just like a reporter. This definitely Brandon Richards. Who is Brandon Richard? Reporter. Okay, perfect, right? Good assumptions. The Democratic legislatures in Colorado have completely lost their minds after insisting that HB 191124 was not a sanctuary bill. They have now reintroduced Senate Bill XYZ, which goes, okay, this seems sort of lost their minds, a little too off-guided, right? Very political. Just ran in amendments, Colorado House Representatives. This is a little too official. Unfortunately, the bill looks like this person's a politician as well. Yep, little state politician. Okay, let's keep on going. I'm just going to start. Free State Colorado, they voted no. Colorado's Democratic senators voted no yesterday to enforce federal immigration law. So pretty much, if you look at what the law is saying, is there's sort of a technical thing here. So this, they seem like they're against the vote. I know it's not surprising, but it couldn't be more obvious that Colorado legislatures do not want illegal aliens to be held accountable. All right, this just seems, once again, I'm just thinking of all the thing we learned about Court of Injustice and how it functioned. And one thing about the Colorado laws that you're going to see is there's going to be this issue with the state. Cannot write immigration laws, like directly dictating what type of immigration takes place. That's a federal responsibility, just constitutionally. But in the same respect, the state government is now arguing it's not our job to write these laws. Furthermore, it's not our job to enforce the laws, nor do we have an obligation to open up our doors anytime someone enforcing these laws demands so. It's just not how law enforcement works, is the argument, and that's going to be codified into law. Colorado employees, whether they're police or people working in the library, will not have to necessarily engage with ICE. They can refuse to engage with ICE, right? So, okay. So we see this idea of sanctuary states. Let's see. This guy looks like he's got sort of a nice technical thing. He is retired ICE, so he's probably going to be very much an ICE guy. Colorado is a sanctuary state. It doesn't matter what each city or county says. State laws have passed by the most leftist Democratic state house in numerous counties. Okay, so this is just like political, Epoch Times, political. Looks like this is a politics thing. George, the town council of Castle Rock, Colorado, unanimously passed resolution instructing all cops to comply with any and all deportation orders from President Trump. All right, Councilwoman scorched the Denver's mayor office. Okay, this will certainly start legal war between the crooked Democrats. All right, crooked Democrats. All right, so now we see some politics coming in. Okay, House passes immigration bill. Okay, a new law. Libs of did. Okay, so this is pretty political. Let's see if they have something that is going to be super politically charged, or if it's just a statement of fact and an explanation, an opinion of the legal mechanism. A new law going into effect March 31st in Colorado will fast track and make it easier for illegals to get driver's license by dropping multiple requirements. It was sponsored by 4 radical Democrats. Oh, so now I'm seeing that they're using this Libs for TikTok as sort of an ironic representation. They are not truly real liberals. They are making fun of liberals. Okay, let's pass on this one. Governor Jared Polis says Colorado is not in any way, shape, or form a sanctuary state. I asked Polis if this was misleading, given Colorado's legal limits on cooperation with ICE. All right, so this is a journalist, and I think it's sort of like a nice little statement. It's very open-ended. Colorado Dems pass immigration law despite DOJ lawsuit. On Saturday, the House of Representatives passed a bill limiting how local law enforcement can interact with federal immigration. All right, so this just seems, even though it's a Trump thing, I don't know, it's just sort of a statement, informative. Okay, that's good, but I don't really get like something I can use there. So you can see, I'm going to continue going until I find something that would be interesting for me. But, one thing I would like you to do is spend just as much time, 10, 15 minutes, just sorting through these and seeing if you can find one that's really good. Colorado governor, immigrants are vital, but criminals must go. If President-elect Trump wants to target criminals, whether born here or abroad, Colorado will help. All right, so we can see this. Let's go. I'm going to just sort of reorganize. Latest is going to be great because you're going to get some filters. I think some of those were just really high circulation profiles. Okay, concern for Colorado. Got some responses, got some replies here. Gonna circle through that. I think this is sort of interesting. This might be sort of an official site, but it's not like a government site. It's not necessarily a political site. It's just saying, okay, we got these immigration law clinics looking at how it's affecting Trump's law. Okay, this is probably good. This looks good to me. This looks like this is going to have some really easy ways to interpret it, and it's not too politicized, and it's just very practical, and it's people engaging in the legal system. Okay, so we're going to just save that. Let's see. Okay, I'm logged in. Great, it's saved. Defend Democracy Project, no thank you. Trump, no thank you. Reeves Immigration Law Group, this looks interesting because these are probably immigration lawyers. They might be in favor of immigration, right? But they definitely have some really interesting insight. The Trump administration has sued the state of Colorado and the city of Denver for allegedly interfering with federal immigration law. Okay, not really a whole lot to go there. That's just sort of informative. You can get that alleged Pontius Pilate signed into law restrictions on assisting ICE. Trump admin sues Colorado. Okay, so this is definitely Pontius Pilate, Pontius Pilate. Never heard that one before. All right, here we go. 42 politicians need to be removed. No, not really good. You know, this is sort of the tough thing about finding actual evidence and getting actual opinion on this stuff is so tough. This is probably going to go the same way that the Florida immigration law went. Ooh, this sounds really interesting. Even if they have an opinion, I'm just like really interested in seeing how they're going to compare it now. The state is not allowed to create laws regarding immigration. Read Colorado lawmakers. Okay, so this is, I think this is like a superstar quote. Maybe I'd use this one, right? And then you have sort of, you know, even if you wanted to do this, you might be able to, you know, compare then. So if you pick one side that's a little, you know, a little bit more legal, this one is also focusing specifically on legal. They're defying federal law. Why isn't the Trump administration Department of Government Accountability doing something? No, okay. Why isn't they doing something about this? Okay, that's not the great. Let's see. So you can sue Colorado to your heart's intent, but when it comes down to the same thing, the state of Colorado is not responsible for enforcing immigration law. You know, I'd like to maybe get like more stories about how people are personally affected in this context, but you know, some of these statements are great. This looks like a real person. Looks like it's, you know, very matter of fact. It's not necessarily an opinion. It's actually trying to subvert any type of opinion and say, hey, look, we got this legal apparatus in place, just like we have in Court of Injustice. All this asked to like, let's follow the law like we should. Actually, that's what Court of Injustice is showing. Like, we're following the law as it should be done, and there's very little off-ramps. There's very little way to interpret the law. This is exactly why people are frustrated with the current leadership in Colorado. Restricting cooperation with ICE just makes it easier for people to break the law and avoid consequences. If we don't enforce immigration laws, what's the point of having them in the first place? Let's see who Nancy is, right? Sun-kissed beach lover in passion. Okay, this person. I don't know if this is like no porn. I don't know what this is supposed to be. So this is like a weird person that has like a very nuanced opinion. Totally agree, needs to be held accountable for undermining public safety. All right, so I'd say if you wanted to have something that was a little bit more pro-ICE, this one looks, you know, it doesn't bring up politics, you know, it sort of alludes to it, but I think it's great. So, okay, so you get an idea. Maybe I'd use one of those first-hand accounts. Plop that stuff into the hourglass structure. You're still going to need the introduction, the key terms, the citation, the first-hand examples, that social media post. You can use a real person, but you can also, if you want, you have this optional aspect of using an interview. And then similarly with all the other papers, in the conclusion, you got to tell me about the future, where everything's going. What would you do if you had more time to study this and analyze this? So thank you, everybody, for a wonderful semester. I'm really going to look forward to reading these papers. And please let me know if you have any questions. If you have finished this course, you 100% earned a letter of recommendation from me. So make sure if you're applying for a job or grad school or anything like that, keep me in mind. I'll write you a good letter. All right, everybody. Have a good rest of your semester, and I hope we keep in touch.